Hey, welcome back. Glad to have you here. So here's my question today. What have you done for your community lately? Well, our guests today will tell you what they've been doing, and man, have they been doing. My name is Dacquino. Our guests today are Karen McClure and Amy Sayegh. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Thank you.
Pleasure to
Thanks
have
for having
you
us.
here.
Yes.
Community Cares. Just the name alone tells me that you are two busy people. What is Community Cares? When was it started? What does it do? Why are you there?
Well, it all started in 2005. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. My children were small. My oldest was 6. My family lives in another state, and I had to go through surgery, chemo, radiation with 3 little kids.
Difficult.
So my church at the time stood up and brought me meals and babysat my kids, and Karen's coincidentally a part of my church. And so I wanted to give back to my community in the way that they had given to me. So in 2007, I started Community Cares as a way to give back.
So you are the founder.
I'm the founder, yeah.
And president now.
I'm president now, right. Yeah, it's been my baby for the past 12 years.
What a baby it is.
Yeah.
So it is an organization dedicated to helping people in need.
Correct.
Wonderful.
We provide boots on the ground services for people going through cancer treatments or any other major medical illness with children in the household.
Right.
So there's a special set of circumstances when you're a caregiver or you have a child going through cancer. You still have a household to maintain.
Yeah.
And we pitch in, we provide meals, we provide house cleaning, and we provide laundry service for those families who are going through a major medical crisis.
And believe me, I know. I mean, not quite the same, but my wife recently had a hip operation. And during that time, you need help.
Exactly.
And I don't even have little kids in the house.
Yeah,
so I can
imagine if you had children who had to depend on
you. Oh, my God. There's so many, obligations don't stop.
Right.
Things still have to get done.
Right.
And there's just nobody to do them, and that's pretty hard.
Yeah.
So, what a wonderful concept. Now, you have an office?
We do. Our office is in Mayapack on 692 Route 6. We're by the CVS.
Right where the bicycle
where Bikeway is, upstairs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wonderful. And so you're centrally located, and your goal is to get people in the community to join in with you to help. Now, there have been a number of wonderful people working for you and with you. Who are those people?
Karen, I'll let Karen talk about our volunteers.
Well, absolutely. We have a wonderful network of volunteers helping people not only in Putnam County, but in northern Westchester.
Oh, really?
And we try to accommodate as many people as we can depending on the volunteers that we have to help. We have volunteers who will help man booths at fairs, which is how we met.
Yeah, that's right.
And
Exactly.
we need volunteers to help deliver food. We need all sorts of volunteers. We need volunteers who fundraise for us. We've had a lot of local organizations that have supported us recently through bake sales, through softball fundraisers, through teachers, tip a teacher donating to us, the Mayapack Teachers Association.
Wow,
so
great.
it's been absolutely wonderful. We always need volunteers. We have big fundraising events that we have people help us with and donate goods.
So when
services.
we say volunteers, we're not talking about any one particular. We're talking about kids, we're talking about high school people, we're talking about anyone who's willing to give their time or money
Absolutely.
to help.
Absolutely.
The Mayapack school system requires community service for kids to graduate. So we take a lot of kids,
Great. That's
mostly
terrific.
through.
It's also a wonderful example.
Exactly.
And it's teaching our youth the importance of community.
One of our famous volunteers who recently passed away, we're very saddened by the passing of Judge Jim Reitz, was our volunteer since the day we started. He helped us with our emceeing our
Yeah.
events.
What a loss to the community.
Terrible loss.
Yeah.
Terrible loss to every organization, including Community Cares.
For those of you who are not aware, recently Judge Jim Maurice actually passed away pretty much on the bench.
Yeah.
He had a heart attack, and we lost him at a very young age. There must have been 5,000 people
Yeah.
at his memorial service. It was a sad thing.
Yeah.
And now to hear that he was also a very active member of your organization.
He was a Santa Claus. He would go out
Wow.
with trays of food that our volunteers would bake, and we have several families who are in need that we have people purchase gifts for. So he would be our Santa, and he took great joy in visiting each and every
Literally,
one of
your
these
Santa.
families. He visited each and every one of these families with a tray of
Wow.
cookies and gifts for the kids. So that's just his spirit, and it will continue to live on.
Jim, wherever you are, thank you, buddy.
Yep.
So all the help you can get is important help. And you already outlined some of those things where at fairs, that's how you got me.
Yep.
I saw you. I asked you what you did. You told me. I was very impressed. There's nothing harder or sadder than a family in distress. And that's what community means. We have to reach out to each other. And as in Amy's situation,
Yep.
you have wonderful family, but they live a couple thousand miles away.
Right.
What are you going to do? And your kids still need help. I mean, that doesn't end. Just because you're not well doesn't mean that your kids are automatically going to be taken care of. They're not automatically anything. Life still goes on. So I want you to tell me again all the different ways. I was impressed when I was looking at your brochure that you had this wonderful thing outlined where, like, if you give this, it gets this. You give this, it gets this. You give this, it gets this. Tell me a little bit about that. I like that because people say, yeah, well, where's my money going? Well, where is it going?
Well, a $50 donation will feed a family for the week.
Great. Wow.
One meal a week.
One meal per week.
Yeah, I was going to say, they can't eat very much.
Not at all.
One meal per week. One meal per week. So a $100 donation will get them their laundry service for the week,
Wow.
and $250 will pay for their cleaning service.
So, I mean, you actually have people go in and clean their house? And do
We
their
hire
laundry?
reputable, bonded,
Oh, you hire people,
local
good.
businesses
Professional, yeah.
that do that for a living.
Wonderful.
We want to, and we give the families full capacity to schedule their own cleanings. We just pay for the services, so we give them control. And
So,
we
so
pay for them.
financial contributions are highly welcome.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But food donations are also?
Well,
No,
we
no.
have not prepared foods. We have another volunteer opportunity with our local restaurants where we coordinate with them to provide meals for the families.
Wow.
And sometimes they'll donate them, sometimes they'll discount them, which is always a very welcome thing. And especially when you're servicing a wide range of clients in the area. So we always need restaurants to come and help us.
Oh, okay. So that's a big thing. So along with donating individually, if you have a business, if you have a restaurant, donating food is key. So this way people have prepared meals. I mean, you can't really go into people's houses and cook their
No.
dinners
No.
for them. And I understand that could be difficult. But someone has to deliver it, I imagine. Does the restaurant arrange for delivering to the people? Who does that?
Sometimes, but we
Okay.
prefer to use our volunteer network.
Okay.
We have some very long-term trusted volunteers who pick up the food at the restaurant and deliver it to the families at a specific time. And it's a whole coordination effort.
I know with me, when people say, hey, listen, can you volunteer help? I always want to know specifically what
Yep.
you're asking me to do here.
Right.
Because sometimes I volunteer and I find myself at 10 o'clock at night doing things that I don't necessarily want to be doing.
Yeah, and we are very specific.
Good.
So for example, when a family comes to us and they need help, we'll figure out their schedule, their meal schedule. We'll plan that in advance. We'll coordinate with the restaurant their meal preferences, and then we'll contact the volunteer. We like to have one specific volunteer per family, or maybe two per family. That gives it some continuity. People can check in. They pick up the meal at a specific time, and they just bring it to their house. It's that easy. We do all the coordinating.
Wow.
Karen does all the coordinating.
That's great. That's a lot of work. So, is there any specific limit on the? I mean, when I say I'm going to volunteer, do I have to be very specific about when, where, and why, and how I volunteer? Do you call me when you need me, or do I have to be there at a certain time? How's that work?
Well, the scheduling happens as best it can, because people obviously they go on vacation.
Yeah.
And so ideally, I like to, at the beginning of the week, have everybody lined up for what they're going to be doing. But then again, sometimes there's always that last minute call. Could you please do this? And
you have to have people to call to do that.
Absolutely.
Now, so once these people volunteer to do it, about how many families do you serve at a time? I imagine that fluctuates.
It does fluctuate. It fluctuates on treatment, because usually people will get, if they're having cancer, they'll get their meal on chemo day. So at any given time and in a given week, it could be between 7 and 15 deliveries to go around. We have recently had an uptick in people looking for services, and that's another point we wanted to make today. If you know of somebody who could use our services, please contact us. If you
you need helpers, but you also need to know who needs to be helped.
If you need help, contact us. Or if you have a business and you would like to display our brochures for people who come in and out, please contact us, and we'd be happy to deliver them to you. Our website is communitycares.org.
Okay, there it is. Good.
And our number is 845-621-CARE, and we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. And whatever it is, whether you have a restaurant, whether you want to volunteer time, whether you need help yourself, you exist for the community. I love that about you. That's important.
And we're local. We service Putnam County, Southern Dutchess, and Northern Westchester. So really, it's about your friends, your neighbors, right here in the community.
What about if somebody falls outside of that jurisdiction?
I've done that before. If the family needs help, I will find services for you. When I was going through cancer treatments, I was like, if somebody's going to do this for me, I could very easily do that for somebody else. I would just call around and find a laundry service that will do wash and fold and delivery. I have relationships with cleaning companies wherever I can find them, and it's just a matter of paying that invoice. And meal deliveries, you can always find an Uber to drop off a meal. So really, if it's outside, I've gone to New Rochelle, I've gone to Ossining, I've gone up to Poughkeepsie, up off of Route 9, wherever I can find services.
So the best way for me to donate to you is to go onto your website.
Correct.
Or call you and say, look, I'm willing to donate.
And our Facebook page. We're very active on our Facebook page.
Okay, that's good. That's important to know that you do have.
Or simply mail us a check. That's the old-fashioned way.
No, I hear you.
And if you know somebody who needs help, our referrals usually come from oncologist's office, doctor's office, the American Cancer Society, the school districts. If you have a medical practice, we would be happy to drop off brochures for your patients as a referral.
That's great. And have them right in the doctor's office. That's a good. People are reluctant.
They are.
They are. Even though they need it, I do a lot of work with the veterans. And these guys deserve so much help, and yet they don't ask for it.
I think that's the biggest problem. I think people, because we don't disparage on salaries, we don't look at any income. We just know when you're sick and you're going through a major medical illness that you need help. So it's hard for people to accept help. But I tell everybody, it's not rocket science, it's not brain surgery. We're just dropping off a meal and helping you with your cleaning service and anything else that we can do. So just accept help when you can get it.
I mean, I've been there myself.
Yeah.
But I am a 2-time cancer survivor.
God bless.
And the first time I was getting chemo, we had an infant. And my wife was pregnant.
Oh my goodness!
And
So you
we
could have
were
used
like,
community cares
oh
then.
my God. And we lived in garden apartments at the time. We hadn't moved up here yet. And everyone in the building, when it was time for chemo, they all got together.
Yeah.
And we had barbecues out in front of the
That's
house.
fantastic.
And it was community help. At the time, even if you existed, I probably would have never called you. Only because, when you're doing that, you kind of like want to keep it private. But I think it's important to urge these people to understand it's not you alone.
Correct.
Your children are just as much a victim as you are.
Correct.
And they have to be cared for. And when you have a community who cares, you would need to reach out to them.
Yeah.
And if it makes you feel a little guilty that you're taking, when you're done, give.
Pay it forward.
Correct.
That's
Pay
all.
it forward.
Pay forward. And that's the way it is. And you should never feel guilty about being part of a community.
Absolutely.
And you should give, and you should take, and you should give again. And that's the way it is. And a lot of people just don't even realize that people like you even exist. So it's important. This show has been really good in that way. I mean, we learn about horse orphanages where they take in horses, and then people who need love go to these farms and get love. So there's so many different ways to get and need help.
Right.
And we need each other.
And one thing that you did say was when you're sick, you don't want to reach out because you don't want anybody to know, or you want to keep it confidential.
Yeah.
And that's really another aspect of community cares. You don't have to rely on your mother-in-law to clean your bathrooms. You don't have to
Right.
rely on your Aunt Susie to make you a
And
dinner.
it's not going to
on
make
your
the papers
chemo day.
that you are getting help from community cares. I would imagine that you're careful about who you're helping.
It's confidential.
It's confidential.
We
That's
do
the word I was
require
waiting for.
That a treating physician send us just an acknowledgement that they're under care, and so we
Yeah.
can verify that they're being treated in a.
Yeah, and they're
facility.
getting what they need, and it's so important.
But we keep it confidential.
Yeah.
And it gives them more flexibility, so they don't have to depend on other people to care for them when they're going through their sickness.
Yeah, right. Now,
And
so
I just want to be clear too,
Yep.
that we don't only service clients undergoing cancer treatments.
Okay.
It's any type of a major medical
all right,
diagnosis
so if they,
that we help.
for example, if they're having a hip operation, or if they're incapacitated in any way,
Correct.
You help to pitch in.
And it's
I mean,
not just women, it's men and women.
Oh, that's important to know too.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are a lot of single fathers out there who run into help, needing help.
Yep. We have one example, single father with 2 kids at Mapac High School. He lost his battle a couple of years ago. Their mother is not in the picture, and the daughter graduated from high school with a no one. So Community Cares offered a scholarship for her to attend college.
Wow, that's great.
So we started doing scholarships every year. So
Yeah.
part of your contributions will be going to scholarships for kids in our local community who have been affected by cancer. Either had it themselves or had a parent, or is a volunteer that gives back.
Yep.
That's how we kind of pay it forward
Yeah.
as well to help these kids
It's-
on their way.
It's also a wonderful role model. Kids have to understand that people need people.
They do.
And a kid that grows up in need and doesn't get it, gets it in terms of knowing what it's like and what it means to have somebody who cares. So very important. How many hours a week are you open? I mean, do you open at a certain time? Or if I call you at 10 o'clock at night, there's probably a answering machine?
Correct, yes. Our office hours are generally 10 to 3 every day.
Okay.
But that's flexible depending on what's going
Yeah.
on and needs and things like
Yeah,
that.
so if I call you and say, look, I get out of work at 3:30, can you be there at 4?
Yes,
You say yes.
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll find somebody to meet you.
Absolutely.
Myself
Good.
and Karen. Mostly Karen.
Well, you sound like quite the person that's there.
Yeah, I'd also like to mention that we're so lucky at Community Cares to have Karen McClure as our new executive director. She joined our operation in March.
Yeah, I forgot to ask you that.
And she's had over 20 years of nonprofit experience. We're so lucky to have her.
So you are the executive
She's the
director.
executive
I am the
director.
executive director.
Good. We never did get your title.
And I am honored to be part of this organization. I've obviously known Amy for
Yeah.
almost 20 years because we
Wow.
are members of the same church.
Tell me your background, Karen.
Well, my education was in international marketing,
Wow.
and I worked for a number of years in commercial real estate, and figured that, I wanted to do something more meaningful. And so I wanted to use my talents and energies to help people.
Yep.
And so I was fortunate enough to do that within the local community for over 20 years, and got a good background into volunteer services and special events and fundraising. And
Are you a Mayapack homegirl?
I am Yorktown based
Yorktown.
now,
Oh, okay.
originally from Long Island,
Wow.
and then spent a few years in the city. And it's nice because we do hope to expand our services into Yorktown. We do have
Yeah,
two
that's
clients right
good.
now in Yorktown.
Oh, I'm
We
sure.
do. Yeah, we service Yorktown, Somers.
And so we do hope to expand
Yeah,
that.
and
So
you
that's
have
one
to
of my
be
goals.
careful about how far you spread yourself.
Right.
Because if you're too thin, it's going to be difficult
Exactly.
to help so many
Exactly.
people. And
Exactly.
unfortunately, cancer is bigger than we are.
Mm.
And it just keeps growing, and it's just frightening.
It's true.
When I think, we had a family here on the show, a young boy, I don't go into his name, but he was my hero. And he had like 4 or 5 brothers and sisters, and the family struggled.
Mayapack?
Yes.
Yeah, we have
You
that
know
family.
what?
Yes, we did.
I can say it. Remember the case of Sean Callahan?
Yep.
I loved Sean.
Yep.
He was, what a kid.
Inspiration.
He was on this show. He did his book, Don't Give Up.
Yep.
That kid fought right to the last minute. I remember how amazing he stood in front of that microphone and he talked to all those people in the bleachers. He was just amazing. And he had all those brothers and sisters and a family that had to try to keep up.
Yeah.
And how do you do the normal things, just everyday life? And it does impact. And people who haven't been in that situation don't realize how difficult it is just making morning breakfast and just sitting down with your kid and talking and laughing with the family and sitting around the dinner table. Well, when you have a sibling who is suffering the way Sean suffered, it impacts every moment. So anything you can do to alleviate some of that pain is so crucial. And I remember, I made a trail lasagna too. That you just making your favorite dish for those people, or contacting people like you so they can get a restaurant to make their favorite dish.
Right.
Taking the time to make dinner while the kids are doing softball and baseball and football and the things that kids should do.
Yeah.
And somebody has to fill that gap. And it just isn't easy to do. So what you do is just amazing.
Oh, thank you.
One of my first meal volunteers was Chili's.
Oh,
in
Chili's.
Somers.
Oh, wow.
They donate meals for Community Cares every time we call and ask.
Wonderful.
And they also do fundraisers for Community Cares.
Wonderful.
I'll never forget, I had a mother going through the struggle of her life with 3 little children. And her kids would get up in the morning saying, "Mommy, are you going to chemo today?" And she'd say, "Yes." Okay, they were excited because they got to look forward to having Chili's when they got home from school.
That's wonderful.
So it
Hey,
gave them one little,
folks, you hear that? Next time you're looking for a meal and someplace to go to Chili's and say, by the way, can you tell your owners we said thank you?
yep.
It's
And
important.
if you go to our
fantastic.
website, you'll find a whole list of restaurants who donate and help
That's
Community Cares.
great, and that's really, really important.
Yep.
Any other shout outs? I want to make sure that we get, is there any particular group or organization or person who needs to be recognized here today for their service to Community Cares?
I think Mayapack Teachers Association has been phenomenal.
Great.
They always do fundraisers. They're always supporting
Great.
us. They're always at our events. And
Gotta love those teachers.
we really do. They are the first line of communication with
Wonderful.
students who they know who are going through a major medical illness. Usually it's the teacher who knows that their kids are going through something at home.
Yeah, that's.
And
yeah,
they'll
yeah,
reach
yeah,
out to the
yeah.
family and let them know. So the MAPAC Teachers Association helps on both sides.
Yep. I used to help teachers. I ran a teacher center for a long time. And one of the things that I try to impress upon teachers is the understanding, and even the community to understand that when you look out into the classroom, it isn't your class. It's like 22 risk factors.
Yeah.
Every one of those kids has a different risk factor. And whether it's a grandmother who's dying, or a mother, or financial things, every one of those kids has a cross to bear and a difficulty. And we sometimes have to see through the student and see their needs and understand that kids have they're more than students. They're somebody's child.
Yeah.
They're somebody's neighbor. And it's important that we kind of look to see what we can do to make life easier. We know that every day there's something that stands in our way of a smile. And the things that you do can bring a smile and some relief to a kid who has so many things that he has to deal with, more than studying for today's exam or
Absolutely.
today's test, or being bullied by someone. So whatever we can do to give, we have to give. Now, are there people who are willing to help you give? Yeah, they're called community cares. So go to community cares and help them to help you. That's what it's about. Now, the bad news is we have 1 minute left.
Okay.
Any final words for those people? Again, 845-621-CARE. CommunityCares.org. Contact them. Help them to help you.
I'd like to do a shout out to our local businesses who help Community Cares with
Absolutely.
fundraisers and donating, and these are all mom and pop operations themselves,
Yep.
reaching out to help the community. So
If you own a business, please contact them, find out what you can do. And I hate to put it this way, but I will. It'll help your business too.
it does.
You want your customers to come to you? Show them that you care, that you belong to this community. You need your community, and your community needs you. Thank you so
Thank
much
you for
being
having
here
us.
today. It's
Thank you for having us.
absolutely my pleasure. Keep doing what you're doing. Somebody's watching.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in today, watching One-on-One with Community Cares, a wonderful organization that knows people need people. Thank you for joining in today.